The woman in the janitor's closet. The coffee splashed across Maya's worn sneakers before she even saw it coming. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. The perfectly manicured hand didn't move to help. I didn't see you there. You really should watch where you're standing. Maya looked up from her mop to see Vanessa Chen, the company's marketing director, already turning away, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor of Sterling Dynamics headquarters. The woman's two companions, both junior executives Maya had seen around, giggled as they hurried after her. It's okay, Maya said quietly, but they were already gone. She crouched down to wipe up the mess, her reflection catching in the polished floor. At 32, she looked older than she was. The fluorescent lights weren't kind to anyone, but especially not to someone working the night shift. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hair, pulled back in a simple ponytail, showed threads of premature gray. This was her third week as a cleaner at Sterling Dynamics, and she'd become invisible. The corporate employees walked past her as if she were furniture. Some left messes deliberately, it seemed. Crumpled papers tossed near the trash can instead of in it. Coffee rings on glass tables, bathroom sinks left running. But Maya didn't complain. She couldn't. What none of them knew, what none of them could possibly guess, was that Maya Winter Sterling was married to James Sterling, the CEO of the very company where she pushed a mop cart through corridors at midnight. 6 months ago, Maya's life had been completely different. She'd been a project manager at a tech startup, married for 2 years to James, whom she'd met at a charity fundraiser. Their relationship had been a whirlwind. James had been immediately drawn to her authenticity, her lack of interest in his wealth. They'd married quietly, at Maya's insistence keeping their relationship private. She'd even kept her maiden name at work, not wanting to be known as the CEO's wife. Then her mother got sick, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Maya had taken a leave of absence, spending every moment at her mother's bedside. James had been supportive, handling all the medical bills, making sure she had everything she needed. But grief changes people in ways they don't expect. After her mother passed, Maya had felt lost, disconnected from her old life. The tech world felt shallow, meaningless. She'd needed to feel useful in a different way, to do work that was tangible, where she could see the immediate results of her effort. And she'd needed to understand something she'd been thinking about for months. How the other half lived, how the invisible workers in her husband's own company were treated. When she'd told James she wanted to work as a cleaner at Sterling Dynamics under her maiden name, he'd been bewildered. Maya, you don't need to do this. If you want to understand the company better, I need to do this for me, she'd said. Please, James, just for a few months. I need to feel grounded again, and I need to see how people really are when they think no one important is watching. He'd agreed reluctantly on one condition. He'd check on her regularly, and she'd promised to come to him if anyone treated her badly. Maya had agreed, though she'd had no intention of running to him with complaints. This was her experiment, her journey. Now, 3 weeks in, she was learning lessons she'd never expected. Excuse me, miss? Maya turned to see an older security guard, Marcus, standing in the hallway. He was one of the few people who'd been consistently kind to her. Yes, Mr. Williams? Just Marcus, please. He smiled, his weathered face crinkling. I noticed you're still here pretty late. Wanted to make sure you knew the last bus leaves in 20 minutes. Oh, Maya glanced at her watch. Thank you. I lost track of time. They work you too hard, Marcus said, shaking his head. But you do good work. I notice things are cleaner on your shifts. You take pride in it. Maya felt unexpected tears prick her eyes. That's kinda you to say. Just the truth. He tipped his cap. You take care now. The real turning point came on Friday evening. Maya was cleaning the executive floor, the one place she'd been dreading. James's office was here, though he'd promised to make himself scarce during her shift. She'd just finished vacuuming the conference room when she heard raised voices from down the hall. I don't care what the report says, someone's head needs to roll for this. Maya recognized the voice. Richard Ashford, the COO, and one of James's oldest friends. She pushed her cart quietly toward the source, not meaning to eavesdrop but unable to help overhearing. The data breach wasn't IT's fault, Richard. That was James, his voice calm but firm. The vulnerability came from a third-party vendor. Firing people won't solve the problem. It'll send a message. The wrong message. We need to fix the system, not blame the people. Since when did you become so soft? Richard laughed, but there was an edge to it. Oh, wait. Since you married that woman. What was her name? Maya? She's made you weak, James. Maya froze. Careful. James's voice dropped to a tone she'd rarely heard. Dangerous, controlled. You're talking about my wife. I'm talking about the company. Ever since she came into your life, you've been different. More concerned with feelings than the bottom line. The board's noticed. The board can take their concerns up with me directly. And for the record, Maya's taught me that people aren't disposable resources. She's made me better, not weaker. Now if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Footsteps approached the door. Maya quickly pushed her cart around the corner, her heart pounding. She heard Richard storm past in one direction, James's office door close in the other. She stood there for a long moment, processing what she'd heard. Then she took a deep breath and continued her work. The following Tuesday, everything changed. Maya was cleaning the restroom on the 7th floor when she heard someone crying in one of the stalls. She hesitated, then knocked softly. Hello? Are you okay? Sniffling. Go away. I have tissues if you need them. A long pause. Then the stall door opened, revealing Jessica Park, a young junior analyst Maya had seen around. Her eyes were red and swollen. Thanks, Jessica mumbled, taking the tissues Maya offered.
Bad day?
Bad life. Jessica laughed bitterly. I just got called into HR. They're letting me go. Oh no, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I made a mistake on a client presentation. Mixed up some numbers. It wasn't even that big of a deal. But Vanessa Chen, she's my supervisor. She threw me under the bus to save face with Mr. Sterling. Jessica wiped her eyes. The worst part is I have my student loans, my mother's medical bills. I can't afford to lose this job. Maya's mind raced. What if there was a mistake? What if it wasn't your fault? What do you mean? Who prepared the original data? Vanessa did. I just formatted it into the presentation she designed. Do you have proof of that? Jessica's eyes widened slightly. Yeah, actually. Email chains. Timestamps. But it won't matter. Who's going to believe me over her? Maya smiled. Maybe someone will. Do you have access to those emails on your phone? That night, Maya broke her own rule. She went to James's office after hours, not as the cleaning lady, but as his wife. He looked up in surprise when she entered. Then his face broke into a relieved smile. Maya, God, I've missed you. How are you holding up? I need to talk to you about something important. She sat across from him, still in her cleaning uniform. There's a junior analyst named Jessica Park. She's being fired for a mistake that wasn't hers. James frowned. How do you know about this? I met her tonight. Heard her crying in the bathroom. James, her supervisor, is setting her up to take the fall. I saw the email evidence. Jessica has the proof. Why would anyone do that? Because people get away with it when they think no one's watching. When they think the people below them don't matter enough to listen to. Maya leaned forward. This is why I needed to do this, James, not just for me, but to see how things really work here. How people like Jessica get treated when there's no one to advocate for them. James was quiet for a long moment, then picked up his phone. Send me Jessica's contact information. I'll look into this personally tomorrow. Thank you. Maya. He reached across the desk for her hand. I understand now. Why you needed to do this. And you were right. I needed to see it too. The emergency staff meeting was called for Friday afternoon. Maya, of course, wasn't invited. She was just the cleaning lady. But Marcus, the security guard, gave her a play-by-play later that evening. You should have seen it, he chuckled, shaking his head. Mr. Sterling called out Vanessa Chen in front of everyone. Had the email receipts, timestamps, everything. Turns out she'd been doing this for months. Taking credit for other people's work. Throwing junior staff under the bus when things went wrong. Jessica Park was just the latest. What happened? Vanessa was escorted out. Jessica got reinstated with an apology and a promotion, and Mr. Sterling made this whole speech about integrity and treating everyone with respect, regardless of their position in the company. Said something about how every person here, from the CEO to the cleaning crew, deserves dignity. Marcus looked at her curiously. Funny thing, I could have sworn he looked right at your section when he said that last part. Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. He sounds like a good man, one of the best. His wife must be pretty special to have shaped him that way. I'm sure she thinks he's the special one, Maya said softly. Her last night came 2 weeks later. Maya had decided it was time. She'd learned what she needed to learn, experienced what she'd sought to experience. She was cleaning the executive floor, one final time when she found an envelope taped to her cart. Inside was a handwritten note. To the hardest working cleaner on the night shift. Your dedication hasn't gone unnoticed, neither has your kindness. This company is better because you've been here. Thank you for everything you do. A grateful employee. Below it were dozens of signatures. Marcus, Jessica, people from various departments she'd exchanged brief conversations with, even a few executives, who'd started saying good evening instead of walking past without acknowledgement. Maya sat down right there in the hallway, the note clutched in her hands, and cried, but they were good tears. Monday morning, Maya walked into Sterling Dynamics through the front entrance wearing a tailored suit, her hair professionally styled, her wedding ring catching the light. The receptionist did a double take. Mrs. Sterling, we weren't expecting. I know, Maya smiled. Is James available? Of course, let me just... No need. James appeared in the lobby, clearly having been waiting. His face lit up when he saw her. Maya. They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, before James crossed the space between them and wrapped her in his arms. I missed you, he murmured into her hair. I missed you too. Ready to come back? I had HR prepare paperwork for whatever position you want. Project management, consulting, advisory role. Actually, Maya pulled back to look at him. I want to head the new department we're going to create. What new department? Employee experience and dignity. Maya's eyes sparkled. I want to make sure that what I experienced over the past month, both the bad and the good, becomes impossible to ignore. I want to create systems where every person who works here, at every level, feels valued, where people like Jessica have clear channels to report abuse, where people like Marcus get recognized for the difference they make. James stared at her, then started laughing. You're incredible. You know that? I had a good teacher. She kissed him. You stood up for me before you even knew it was me. You stood up for Jessica, for doing the right thing over the easy thing. You've always had these values. James, I just want to help make sure they're built into the foundation of everything Sterling Dynamics does. Consider it done. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Though I have to say these past weeks have been torture, pretending I didn't know you every time I passed you in the hallway. You passed me? Twice. You were concentrating so hard on mopping that you didn't even look up. Maya laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. Well, the floors needed to be clean. Behind them, the elevator dinged. Vanessa Chen emerged, carrying a box of her belongings, her face stormy. She stopped short when she saw Maya and James together, confusion crossing her features. Vanessa, James said coolly. I believe you've met my wife. The box nearly slipped from Vanessa's hands. As recognition dawned, the cleaning woman, the spilled coffee, the casual dismissal. I didn't. No, you didn't, Maya said quietly. And that's exactly the problem. They watched as Vanessa hurried out. Then Maya turned back to James. You know what the strangest part is? I thought I was going undercover to expose problems or prove a point. But what I actually found was that most people here are good. They're just caught in systems that don't encourage them to see each other as human beings. That's what we need to change. We will, James promised. Together. 6 months later, Sterling Dynamics launched its Employee Experience and Dignity program to national attention. The initiative included regular town halls where employees at all levels could voice concerns anonymously, a peer recognition system that transcended departmental hierarchies, and mandatory training on unconscious bias and workplace respect. But the most revolutionary aspect was Maya's Walk a Mile program, where executives and managers spent time working alongside employees in different roles. The COO shadowed its support. Department heads worked with the mailroom. The CFO spent a week learning from facilities management. The program gained media attention. But what really made headlines was when Maya shared her own story in an interview for a major business publication. I spent a month as a cleaner in my husband's company, and it taught me that dignity isn't determined by job title. It's determined by how we treat each other. When we think no one important is watching, the truth is everyone is important. Every person matters. And the companies that understand that won't just be more ethical, they'll be more successful. Because people do their best work when they feel valued. The article went viral. Other companies started reaching out, wanting to implement similar programs. Maya found herself becoming a sought-after speaker on workplace culture and human dignity. But her favorite moments were still the quiet ones. Having coffee with Jessica, who'd become a close friend and was thriving in her new position. Chatting with Marcus during his rounds, learning that the company had created a security officer appreciation program, seeing the genuine smiles from the night. Cleaning crew, now paid better and given full benefits when she stopped by to say hello. And coming home to James every evening, where they'd cook dinner together and talk about their days. Two people who'd learned that love means not just accepting each other, but challenging each other to be better, not just for themselves, but for everyone whose lives they touched. One evening, a year after her experiment began, Maya stood at the window of James's office looking out over the city. He came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Penny, for your thoughts? I was just thinking about how different my life looked a year ago. How lost I felt. How much I needed to find meaning again. And did you find it?" Maya turned in his arms, smiling up at him. "I found something better. I found that meaning isn't something you discover, it's something you create. Through the choices you make, the values you live by, the way you treat people when no one's watching. And when you share your life with someone who believes the same thing," she touched his face gently, "that's when you change the world. Or at least one company," James said with a smile. "It's a start." Maya grinned. "And who knows? Maybe one company at a time is how you change everything." Below them, through the window, they could see the night shift arriving. Cleaners, security guards, maintenance workers, people whose work kept the world running while everyone else slept. People who mattered just as much as anyone else, even if the world forgot sometimes. But Maya would make sure Sterling Dynamics never forgot. And if she had her way, soon the rest of the business world wouldn't forget either. Because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves to know they matter. Not because of what they do, but because of who they are. That was the lesson Maya had learned in her month behind the mop cart. And it was the lesson she'd spend the rest of her life teaching others. One person, one moment, one act of recognition at a time. The end. Sometimes the most important lessons come from walking in someone else's shoes. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply see someone. Really see them and treat them like they matter, because they do.